I work for Zero Waste Scotland, and I'm going to give an introduction to the circular economy. I'm going to discuss the opportunities it presents and talk a little bit about the future of work in a more circular economy. And hopefully this will help stimulate some of the conversation on green jobs and business opportunities within Wester Ross. So Zero Waste Scotland is funded by the Scottish Government and through European Regional Development Funds. We exist to lead Scotland to use products and resources responsibly, and we focus our work on where we can have the biggest impact on climate change. Everything we do here at Zero Waste Scotland is informed by research, and we use these insights to inform policy and to motivate individuals and businesses to embrace the environmental, the economic and the social benefits of a circular economy. Now I'm going to play a short video which illustrates our organisational ambitions and our new approach to the way that we work. So fingers crossed we have sound and that it works.
Emergency. Global emissions are destroying our planet, and if we carry on as we are, it's set to get worse. 4/5 of Scotland's carbon footprint comes from products and materials, and the production, consumption and waste of these products and materials are heating the earth at an alarming rate. This includes the energy required to grow, make, process and transport them, whether they are made here in Scotland or elsewhere. Climate change doesn't respect borders, it affects everyone. Roughly 3 planets would be required if everyone lived the way people live in Scotland, and we only have one. But Scotland can show the world another way. For Zero Waste Scotland, that means leading Scotland to use products and resources responsibly, making Scotland a pioneer of the circular economy, just as we were a pioneer of the Industrial Revolution. Our organisation is already at the heart of a political and public shift in attitudes towards the environmental consequences of our lifestyles, making us a lighthouse for the circular economy. Our strategic outcomes will focus on where, as a society, we can have the greatest impact on climate change. They include responsible consumption, helping people live sustainable lives so we don't exhaust the Earth's natural resources. Responsible production, changing the way industry designs and trades goods so materials are kept in circulation for as long as possible. And maximising value from waste and energy. So where waste occurs, we make sure we reuse or recycle as much as we can. But we need to do more, much more. Of course it won't be easy, but with our dedicated people, great relationships with partners and trust from businesses and organisations, we are well placed to achieve it. And we need others to help, both locally and internationally. To meet the scale of the challenge, we need to evolve as an organisation. That's why we're transforming Zero Waste Scotland to meet our ambitions. Investing in our staff and building valuable partnerships will define our future success. Through our values of being pioneering, collaborative, focused and authentic, we will show the world how to live a truly low-carbon life. This is our vision, this is our future, this is our plan. Are you ready to help make it happen?
My role within Zero Waste Scotland is Regional Engagement Manager covering the Highlands and Islands region, and I work in partnership with Highlands and Islands Enterprise, really building on our value of collaboration. And in my role, I work with businesses, social enterprises, communities and other public bodies to help create a more circular economy for the Highlands and Islands. Now, we can't really talk about the circular economy without first having a look at the current dominant linear model, where we take resources from source, we create something from them, we use it, and then we dispose of it. And this linear model is what drove the Industrial Revolution. It's allowed people to overcome challenges around food production, housing and clothing. It's driven technological advances and innovations for decades. But today, the downsides of a linear economy are increasingly damaging and apparent. So we're going to do a quick quiz which highlights the wasteful way in which we're currently using our resources, and it'll help us to start change our thought processes. So please join in. I'm going to ask 3 questions. So shout out the answers or pop them in the chat box, and Zoe, maybe you could capture them from the chat box and shout them out for me. So first of all, on average, what percentage of its life do you think a standard domestic car is driven for? And this is pre-lockdown, because the percentage is probably even lower now. So on average, what percentage of its life do you think a standard domestic car is driven for?
10%.
10%, anybody else?
5%. Another 5.
Only 8%, which means for a staggering 92% of that car's life, it's parked up and not being used. And it's probably even lower, considering everybody's at home in the past year. And then secondly, on average, for how many minutes do you think a standard domestic drill is used for during its lifetime? So how many minutes do you think the average drill within a household is used for during its lifetime?
We've got 120 minutes or 50 minutes.
So only 13 minutes, which really begs the question why we all need drills within our households. And then finally, from field to fork, what percentage of the food we produce is used and what percentage is wasted?
%60 used, which would be 40% wasted, or 35%, 50%, 70%.
Very close. So 33% is wasted and 66% is used, which is a staggering amount to go to waste considering the energy and the time that goes into creating that produce. And I think that we're all more than aware that the issues with our current systems not being sustainable have been apparent for quite some time. And the current challenges that the economy is facing in the midst of COVID-19 really highlights the vulnerabilities of this linear model further. Only around 8.6% of all extracted resources are being reused or recycled globally. And this not only has significant environmental impacts, but it also limits our ability to respond to crisis and to shock. 4/5 of Scotland's carbon footprint is generated by the vast amounts of goods and materials which we produce, consume, and throw away, often after just one use. And we import roughly half this stuff from countries overseas where the impact on biodiversity, habitat, and water security is arguably even more damaging. So as we look to COVID recovery, the government is recognising that rebuilding can't just be about returning the economy to its previous state. And we are planning a green recovery and build back better by doing more differently to make things last. And the circular economy is going to play a big part in this, allowing us to collectively meet the Scottish Government's pledge to end Scotland's contribution to the climate crisis by 2045. And we've already seen entrepreneurs across Scotland demonstrating how invaluable innovation, collaboration, adaptability, and communication are in an emergency. We have seen major changes in consumer behaviour. People are shopping more locally and less often. And as a result, we've seen a drop in household food waste. And businesses have adapted really quickly, increasing local sales and also their local customer base. We in Scotland now have the world's 3rd greenest grid, thanks to the Scottish Government's renewable policies, which have significantly cut emissions from energy. And this provides really strong foundations to build back our recovery from coronavirus, forging the sustainable circular economy we need to save us from the climate crisis, and allowing us to create stronger, greener, safer, healthier, and fitter communities nationwide. So, what is the circular economy? The circular economy is a fundamental shift in the way that we manufacture, use and view materials and products. It reduces waste to a minimum by recovering and reusing as many products and materials as possible over and over again. So in contrast to the linear model, it is a make, remake, reuse economy. And through maximising and maintaining the value of resources, we can cut consumption of raw materials vulnerable to climate risks, and then build supply chains that are diverse, distributed, flexible, and resilient. So the circular economy is built on three core principles that you will see in this slide. One, design out waste and pollution. Two, keep products and materials in use. And three, regenerate natural systems. And within this continuous loop, there are two cycles, technical and biological. In biological cycles, materials such as food, cotton, wood are designed to be fed back into the system through processes like composting and anaerobic digestion, regenerating living systems. Technical cycles recover and restore products, components, and materials through reuse, repair, remanufacture, and as a last resort through recycling. And as a result of this different model, the circular economy requires us to change our business models to help capture greater value from products, whilst developing a new type of relationship with the supply chain to allow us to keep valuable resources in use for longer. And one of the biggest differences is the customer's role. So the focus is no longer on consumption, but instead on use and on function. And this means that businesses have to build long-term relationships into their business models. So the circular economy in practice involves reducing, sharing, leasing, repairing, remanufacturing, and as a last resort, recycling. And it offers businesses across all sectors an opportunity to make significant savings and profits while offering greater resilience too. Holding on to value from products, parts, resources creates a much more efficient way of working. And this ultimately leads to less spend on raw materials. And with manufacturing firms in the EU spending on average about 40% of their outgoings on materials, closed loop models can increase their profitability while also sheltering them from resource price fluctuations. For consumers, the circular economy will provide high quality, functional and safe products which are efficient and affordable. They will last longer and be designed for reuse, repair and high quality recycling. And a whole new range of sustainable services, product as a service models and digital solutions will bring about a much better quality of life, innovative jobs and upgraded skills and knowledge. I think it's worth mentioning that creating more sustainable business models isn't just about the environment. It can save money, it can build brand affinity with customers, and it can provide businesses with a competitive advantage, boosting reputation and demonstrating that what their customers are saying is important to them. We at Zero Waste Scotland have previously calculated the economic benefits of a circular economy, offering a potential £3 billion boost for Scotland. So there are a number of key strategies that we need to focus on in order to achieve a circular economy for Scotland. And these include resource recovery, enabling technologies, viewing a product as a service, leasing, remanufacturing, reusing, repairing, realising the benefits of a sharing economy, and circular design. And I'd like to quickly run through these and give some examples of them in action. And I've drawn out a few examples that might be of particular interest to the area. So in tourism, food and drink, and in some community initiatives too. So first of all, we have design. And design really sits at the heart of the circular economy. To change the system, it requires us to redesign everything: products, business models, regions, and the linear systems that have lasted for centuries. And we need to educate and inspire the design industry to take up this challenge. So circularity can't just be an add-on, but it should be an integral part of how companies think about design. So when something is designed, really important decisions are made, and these impact on how it's manufactured, used, and also what happens to it when it's no longer used or wanted. And it's really difficult to go back and change those decisions after the design stage. More than 3 out of 4 decisions that directly influence material selection and manufacturing processes are determined in the design phase, and over 80% of the ecological costs are determined before a product is even created. So we have to design products that are easily repaired or remanufactured, look at more modular designs, and consider how we can ensure that the materials used can remain within the value chain, with manufacturers taking on board extended producer responsibility. Success of the circular economy requires business model innovation, really to realise the value in investing at that very early stage of design. We are already seeing Scottish businesses working to design innovative solutions to distributing their products in packaging that can be reused and recycled, and that's consciously moving away from single-use options. And so a good example is Dunnet Bay Distillery. So in a step to reduce the number of ceramic bottles being produced to send gin to customers, Dunnet Bay distillers now make their gin available in fully recyclable pouches that can be returned to them for free in the post, making it the first gin available in returnable recyclable packaging. And once back at the distillery, the pouches will be passed on to be upcycled into new items. And it's a great example of extended producer responsibility, where a company is taking responsibility for the full life cycle of their product. And another really good example of a company redesigning entire products and processes to become more circular is Isla Bikes and the Imagine project. And I'm going to play a short video which describes that project.
In the 1920s, some top light bulb makers realised that they weren't selling enough bulbs and that their businesses were in danger. Their solution, radical for the time, was to make their product worse, so that it would have to be replaced more often. It saved their industry, but today it is costing us the earth. Economies across the globe have adopted the model, and the rate of consumption has accelerated. Manufacturing everywhere is based on taking raw material, making products, and, when they are finished with, throwing them away. Today we dump an enormous 2.1 billion tonnes of waste, and 99% of the stuff we buy we throw away within 6 months. This can't go on.
Sustainability is a global issue. I think the solutions are going to come from individuals all the way around the world that are motivated to do things differently and come up with smart, practical solutions to the problems that we all face. We're embarking on a new project. It's very exciting, and we're hoping that once again that our customers are going to be very involved and a part of this new adventure for us. We're developing a small range of much more sustainably made bicycles. We will manufacture those in the UK and then rent them. The ownership of the bicycle and therefore the responsibility for the raw materials will remain with us. And when one child's grown out of the bicycle, it'll come back to us and we'll refurbish it and then rent it to another child. We're going to have to rethink every step of how we make bicycles, how we provide bicycles for families. And to do that, we will be looking at the way bicycles were made in the past, and then combining that with new technologies to come up with something for the future. It's our aspiration to become the cycle industry experts in the sustainable supply of bicycles. I feel really excited about it and a little bit scared as well.
Here it comes.
The biggest pleasure for me is always when I'm out and about and just coming across a child that's riding one of our bicycles.
Amazing!
Utopia is a bicycle that lasts forever.
So our next strategy is resource recovery, so using byproducts and co-products to unlock hidden value by introducing energy, materials, products and resources back into the life cycle. And of course, maximising resources leads to less waste, cutting environmental impact and also wastage costs for businesses. A good Scottish example of this in action is Ogilvy Spirits, who create vodka from potatoes unsuitable for supermarket sale and that would usually just go to waste. So the company based in Forfar uses potatoes grown at the family farm located in the same site, and they were looking for a higher value use for the crop. So the family turned to vodka distilling as a way to turn this low value perishable crop into an exportable product. Another really good example of resource recovery in the Highlands and Islands is the work being done by Oban-based Xanthella, and they are developing a model for commercial microalgae production. So they're working to create a method for producing algae that can work across multiple sites and locations. And once perfected, it will make it possible for businesses with nutrient-rich byproducts, such as distilleries, to generate revenue by growing and selling microalgae. And microalgae is pretty special stuff. Whatever you can make with fossil fuels, you can make with algae. And this includes bio-based plastics, pigments, and also biofuels. The algae is also a really good source of protein and omega-3, so there's also potential markets for human or livestock supplements. And it's a really good example of circular economy working where a low-value byproduct is turned into a high-value product. The algae can be grown on demand and the process will be adaptable to different locations and to a range of feedstocks, giving it really strong commercial potential. Next up, we've got enabling technologies. So design, manufacturing, distribution can all be done digitally and in efficient ways that reduce environmental impact. For example, monitoring product usage to reduce energy consumption, cutting down on labour and material needs through 3D printing, and streamlining distribution. And we have been supporting an Edinburgh-based company called Reith. And Reith are a technology firm on a mission to empower more companies and organisations to embrace circular economy models. So Reith is committed to developing the digital infrastructure needed to help shift to a circular economy and is working with businesses in the food and drink sectors, cosmetics, and even industrial companies that want to track their reusable assets. So their system works through allowing businesses to give the items they want to reuse, from packaging to PPE, a unique identity. And this is its digital passport. And these items can then be tracked. And every time the equipment or packaging is used, filled, refilled, or cleaned, it's given another stamp on its passport. And this creates a digital ledger that gives a complete history of an item's life cycle. And this helps businesses generate insights, create new revenue streams, and helps them to identify savings too. And I think, as our models become smarter through digital technologies such as the Internet of Things, big data, blockchain, and artificial intelligence, will not only accelerate circularity, but also reduce the amount of materials being consumed by our economy, making us much less dependent on primary materials. We've got product as a service. So here, the manufacturer retains ownership of the product and provides it as a service to the customer. And this model presents an opportunity to offer greater customer service and also to retain customers for life. And a really good example of this is Glasgow-based Egg Lighting, and they operate under a model that lighting should last as long as buildings. So their lighting is provided as a service, and the LED smart technology is modular built, so it can be easily repaired. If parts of the lighting system need removed, the materials are refurbished, keeping them within the cycle. And next up, we have leasing. So again, here the manufacturer retains ownership and is responsible for delivery, maintenance, and take back. And a great example of this is mud jeans. So globally, less than 1% of clothing is turned into new clothes. But there are companies out there trying to break this trend. So initially established to create good quality and ethical jeans, Mud Jeans established a lease system in 2013, which allows them to retain ownership of the valuable fibres, with every garment being returned from the customer to be recycled. So the customer pays a monthly or yearly subscription for their jeans, and once they're done with them, they get sent back and turned into a new item, really promoting usage over ownership. And another good example for the tourism sector is London-based Airtots. So from tents to travel cots, visitors often need items just for the duration of their stay. So creating models that will allow access to these items at a local level cuts out the need for individuals to purchase and use just for a short time. So London-based Airtops is a really good example of this type of leasing model. The company allows visitors to hire a large range of kids' kit, including baths, cots, high chairs and toys, whilst visiting London. And they partner with a number of accommodation providers, so guests can book the items that they need and they'll be waiting for them in their accommodation on arrival. And again, this really promotes usage over ownership. Next up, we've got remanufacturing, so where products at the end of their usable life are disassembled into components, and those components are then brought back to original quality, then used to create new products that are identical to the original or often even higher spec. And I think it's useful to note that remanufactured products should be considered used, refurbished, repaired, or reused. And remanufacturing creates real business value. It allows manufacturers to learn about the performance of their product in the market and to improve subsequent product versions. It saves on material and manufacturing costs. For instance, remanufacturing allows manufacturers to use remanufactured components for service and repair instead of more expensive new components. It allows manufacturers to lower their ecological footprint and to control the end of life of their product. And it's also really good value for customers too, as they get high quality as new products for a reduced price. And then we've got reuse, so using products and materials for their intended use for as long as possible. And a really good example of a company creating innovative solutions to extend the life of materials is Highland Galvanisers, based in Elgin. And they have developed a pioneering way of extending the lifespan of motorway crash barriers. So traditionally, the steel barriers get a protective galvanised coating of zinc alloy, which lasts for around 25 to 30 years which point rust sets in and the steel is scrapped. So Highland galvanisers have developed a way of recoating before the rust sets in, meaning the barrier can last for an additional 25 years with the same strength and safety properties as a new barrier. The process creates a massive 89% reduction in CO2 through recoating rather than scrapping, and it removes the need for newly sourced steel as well. So it prevents unnecessary waste, and it also offers a huge saving to the public purse too. And next up we have repair. So design is really important here to ensure that products can be separated and disassembled easily. And we've got companies like iFixit, who have developed a business model on making repair information, spare parts, tools available to the public, so consumers have the resources they need to fix their consumer electronics. And iFixit is a really interesting model. It's a wiki-based platform that brings together a worldwide repair community and teaches people how to repair various products themselves. So anyone can create a repair manual for a device and upload it, and anyone can also edit the existing set of manuals themselves to improve them. And the website really empowers individuals to share their technical knowledge more widely. And lastly, we have the sharing economy. So sharing assets across multiple customers, either through the manufacturer retaining ownership or peer-to-peer sharing, which is a really interesting model for our rural communities across the Highlands and Islands. So, for example, food waste generated by tourists can be a significant problem, especially in rural and island communities where waste collection can be expensive and logistically challenging. So communities in Scotland have been developing innovative yet simple sharing solutions for this issue. So Mull and Iona Community Trust have developed a community fridge to prevent good quality food going to waste. So surplus food is provided by local businesses or members of the public, and then is available for collection for people who have a use for it. And the fridge is also widely promoted across the island to tourists, including on the ferry. And this really encourages them to donate their leftover provisions at the end of their stay, preventing it being chucked in the bin instead. So it keeps the food within the value chain, being used by those in need within the community. Now I'm conscious of time, Zoe. Apologies, but I'll just run through this bit a bit quickly. It's something that I'd like that's probably of interest to you, and I'd like to just quickly cover off, is a recent report published by Zero Waste Scotland titled "The Future of Work." And it's a baseline employment analysis, and it presents skills pathways for the circular economy in Scotland. It is the first report of its kind in Scotland and provides a really important baseline for us to build on, giving us a good picture of the number and range of circular jobs that already exist in Scotland. And it provides a view on the types of roles and range of skills that will be required to support the development of a more circular economy into the future. So the report aims to answer a number of key questions. What are circular jobs, roles and skills, and how do they differ from traditional ones? How many jobs in Scotland are already associated with the circular economy? Which circular activities provide future opportunities for the Scottish workforce? And what skills do educators, employers and workers need to develop to do the tasks and roles that drive a circular economy? Now, I don't have time to go into too much detail, but I will run through some highlights from the report. So the report has broken down circular jobs into direct and indirect jobs, and then into three economic sectors: core sectors, enabling sectors, and indirect circular sectors. And it shows that circular labour market is comprised of all kinds of jobs in different sectors, ranging from manufacturing, and creative industries to waste and resource management. And the report uses a standardised and replicable methodology to define and to measure this. And the report identifies that currently nearly 1 in 10 jobs, that's around 8.1%, are generated by the circular economy. And this share of circular employment is broadly on par with other countries where similar analysis has been carried out, such as the Netherlands and in Belgium. So to further explore regional level differences in the range of circular jobs already present in Scotland, this analysis divided Scotland into 4 regions: Highlands and Islands, North Eastern Scotland, Eastern Scotland and South Western Scotland. So in the Highlands and Islands, 7% of all jobs in the region, that's just over 16,500, were identified as being related to the circular economy. And most circular jobs in the region, just over 47%, are generated indirectly by demand for core products and services by sectors including manufacturing, wholesale and retail. And looking ahead at the development of circular economy in Scotland, Zero Waste Scotland identified 3 value chains as being key. And these were construction, so this was made up of off-site construction methods, digital technologies and building materials and management, and closed loop cycling of building materials. It identified capital equipment, and that involves repurposing and reuse, remanufacturing and refurbishment, including decommissioning of oil rigs and wind turbines, and also product as a service models. And then the third one was the bioeconomy, in particular biorefining and anaerobic digestion. And it identified that the roles across all sectors to enable this transition will require different and sometimes additional skill sets. And getting clarity on what skills are needed is vital to reducing and avoiding skills gaps and shortages. And really a successful transition to the circular economy will depend on both the skills available and how the skills that are needed in the labour market are also developed. So jobs in circular economy are likely to involve a combination of more traditional skills, such as skills for repair, sorting, and spotting faults during the production process, and more novel skills too, such as those associated with modular design and material composition. And in many cases, working with circular business models will require more diverse and adaptive skills and mindsets, such as soft skills for collaborating across sectors and service-related skills too. And these are going to be just as important as the hard skills for programming, operating, and for repairing equipment. So unlocking the labour market potential of the circular economy across all sectors will only really be realised if the right enablers are in place to take this forward. And key enablers include circular design, circular procurement, and the recycling infrastructure and services to allow this to happen. And really fundamental changes are needed in all of these areas to accelerate the implementation of a circular economy in Scotland. And these changes are also going to have implications for education and for skills requirements too. Circular products and services will never become mainstream unless there is a big demand for them. And we've identified that the public sector can lead the way in driving this demand, backed by policies supporting the national switch to circular products and services. Employers, the business community, industry can lead the way in workforce planning through skills development and through circular innovation too. So as well as requiring a general upskilling as a result of sort of task diversification and advances in technology, the circular economy also calls for a fundamental shift in mindsets at all levels in the workforce. So public and private leadership is required to encourage this shift to more systems thinking amongst workers across the full range of sectors that contribute to the circular economy. So I'll make sure we send out a link to this report after the session, because it does hold a huge amount of information. But I think key points to highlight for this discussion would be that 8.1% of jobs in Scotland are already associated with the circular economy. We need to strengthen transferable and digital skills. There needs to be holistic thinking across the entire workforce. We must promote the circular economy as a career destination. Circularity needs to be integrated into the existing skills landscape. We must introduce innovative forms of learning and knowledge exchange, and we need to ensure that we harness skills for ongoing and future energy transition too. So I just wanted to quickly close the session with an overview of the support that we offer at Zero Waste Scotland. And I'm really excited to be working towards a more circular economy for the Highlands and Islands. And our regional approach to the way that we support the development of the circular economy is really important. So please do get in touch directly if you want to talk about how circular models could be implemented in your business or your organisation. So in terms of support, we have our Scottish Circular Economy Business Network, and it's overseen by a really active steering group and provides opportunities for businesses based in Scotland to come together to focus on collaborative action and work together to drive forward the circular economy in Scotland. We also have a huge range of resources on our website, from food waste reduction guidance to circular construction best practice. And again, I can send out some relevant links after this session. And we can also deliver circular economy innovation workshops to businesses and other organisations to support the development of specific opportunities. And I'll quickly also touch on our new energy efficiency business support service, which has replaced the old Resource Efficient Scotland programme. And this service is now completely focused on energy. And the service offers free advice and technical support. It shares best practice and new technologies to support organisations to be more energy efficient and to reduce their carbon footprint. And businesses can now receive a free virtual energy audit. And as part of this, we also offer a 0% interest loan, and there's a cashback scheme associated with that too. So worth having a look at if you were considering improving energy efficiencies within your organisation. And that's the information there. And I will finish it up now and open it up for wider discussion. And I'm really interested to hear the conversations today. So part of my regional work that I'm currently focusing on is how can we better support rural areas to embrace circular opportunities. I think much of the work that Zero Waste Scotland has done to date, and much of the work that's been done internationally on circular economy is focused very much on urban, industry-rich and highly populated areas, and working largely sort of directly to support SMEs. And at Zero Waste Scotland, we recognise that for circular economy to work in Scotland, it has to address all sectors and all geographical areas, from our cities to our most sparsely populated regions. So thank you for your time.